Tomorrow morning, about 150 million Americans will pour something into their coffee. Not milk, not cream. Something from a bottle or a tub that sits in the refrigerator door, or maybe from a plastic container that doesn't even need refrigeration. Something that tastes like vanilla, hazelnut, caramel, or sweet cream. Something that swirls into the cup and turns it that perfect golden brown. And most of them will never flip that bottle around. Because if they did, they'd find something strange. The product they think of as creamer, the product that sits next to the milk, that shows pictures of cream being poured on the label, that calls itself names like sweet cream and real cream and simply natural, often contains no cream at all, or almost none. What it does contain is a combination of water, sugar, and oil. Vegetable oil. The same kind of oil you might associate with deep fryers and processed snack foods, not your morning coffee. Here's the mechanism that drives this entire category. In the United States, there is no legal standard of identity for the word creamer. Unlike milk, unlike cream, unlike butter, the FDA does not define what a coffee creamer must contain. That means a company can put the word cream in the product name, show a picture of cream on the label, place the product in the dairy aisle, and fill the bottle with corn syrup, soybean oil, and a handful of additives. And it's perfectly legal. That's not a scandal. That's the business model. Today we're going through 9 coffee creamer brands that millions of Americans buy on autopilot. Some of them are misleading. Some are overpriced. Some contain ingredients that have raised real questions from consumer health groups and researchers. Some are sold as premium or natural alternatives that, once you read the label, barely differ from the cheapest option on the shelf. And a few are doing something genuinely deceptive with their front-of-package marketing. We'll also cover what to buy instead and give you a simple label checklist you can use in the store in about 10 seconds. Stay for that, because the alternatives section might change what goes in your cart permanently. Let's start with the biggest name in the business. Number 1. Coffee Mate Original by Nestlé. Coffee Mate is the best-selling coffee creamer in the United States. It has been on shelves since 1961. It is in break rooms, church kitchens, hospital cafeterias, and tens of millions of homes. If you grew up watching your parents pour something into coffee, there's a good chance it was this. Now look at the ingredient list on the original liquid version. The first ingredient is water. The second is sugar. The third is vegetable oil, typically a blend of partially or fully hydrogenated soybean and palm kernel oils, depending on the format. Then you'll find sodium caseinate, which is a milk-derived protein used as an emulsifier, followed by a series of stabilizers, thickeners, and artificial flavors. There is no cream. There is no milk. Despite the name Coffee Mate, despite the creamy swirl on the packaging, despite the fact that it lives in the dairy case, this product is essentially sweetened oil and water held together by emulsifiers. Now, Nestlé reformulated many Coffee Mate products years ago to remove partially hydrogenated oils, which were the primary source of artificial trans fats. That was a real improvement, and it happened partly because the FDA moved to revoke the generally recognized as safe status of partially hydrogenated oils. But the replacement in many formulations is still highly refined vegetable oil. And the powdered version of Coffee Mate Original still lists corn syrup solids and hydrogenated vegetable oil as its base. The powdered format deserves special attention. It doesn't need refrigeration. It has a shelf life measured in months, and its primary ingredients are corn syrup solids and hydrogenated coconut or palm kernel oil. Some independent analyses have noted that even fully hydrogenated oils can contain trace amounts of trans fat below the threshold that allows the label to say 0 grams. The FDA allows a product to claim 0 grams of trans fat if it contains less than 0.5 grams per serving. And the serving size for Coffee Mate powder is just 1 tablespoon. If you use 2 or 3 tablespoons a day, every day, those trace amounts are no longer trivial. Coffee Mate isn't dangerous in a single cup, but it's a product that millions of people consume daily, sometimes multiple times a day, for years or decades. And the base of that daily habit is refined oil, corn syrup, and additives. That deserves more attention than the friendly red bottle suggests. Number 2. International Delight by Danone. International Delight is the second biggest creamer brand in America. It's known for its dessert-inspired flavors: caramel macchiato, toasted hazelnut, French vanilla, Reese's, Oreo, Cinnabon. The branding is fun, colorful, indulgent. Nobody picks up a bottle of International Delight Cinnabon creamer thinking it's a health food. But here's what people may not realize. A single tablespoon serving of many International Delight flavors contains around 5 grams of sugar. That sounds small until you measure what a tablespoon actually looks like. It's barely a splash. Most people pour 2, 3, or 4 times that amount. At 3 tablespoons, you're looking at 15 grams of added sugar before your first bite of breakfast. That's more sugar than a Chips Ahoy cookie. And if you drink 2 or 3 cups a day, you could be consuming 30 to 45 grams of added sugar from creamer alone. The American Heart Association recommends a daily limit of about 25 grams for women and 36 for men. The ingredient list follows a familiar pattern: water, sugar, palm oil, sodium caseinate, artificial and natural flavors, stabilizers. Some flavors contain carrageenan, a seaweed-derived thickener that has been the subject of ongoing debate. The National Organic Standards Board actually voted to remove carrageenan from the approved list for organic products back in 2016, though it remains permitted in conventional foods. Some researchers have raised concerns about its potential to trigger gastrointestinal inflammation, though the FDA still considers food-grade carrageenan safe. But here's the real issue with International Delight. The brand has expanded into products that look like they belong in a different category. Their one-touch latte foam canisters and their creamer-based iced coffee drinks blur the line between a coffee edition and a sugary beverage. And their single-serve cups, the kind you find in hotels and offices, contain just the same combination of water, sugar, and oil in a tiny plastic container that most people use 2 or 3 of without thinking. International Delight is not hiding what it is, but the playful branding and dessert flavors can normalize what is essentially a daily dose of liquid sugar and oil. And that normalization is the problem. Number 3, Nestlé Natural Bliss. This is where the conversation gets more interesting because Natural Bliss is Nestlé's answer to the clean label movement. It's positioned as the premium, simple, wholesome alternative to Coffee Mate. The packaging is soft, earthy tones. The word natural is right in the name. The front label often says things like, made with real milk and cream and only natural ingredients. And to be fair, the original Natural Bliss sweet cream flavor does have a shorter ingredient list than Coffee Mate. It lists non-fat milk, heavy cream, sugar, and natural flavor. That's a real improvement. But here's where you need to read carefully. Not all Natural Bliss products are created equal. The line has expanded dramatically. Some flavors, particularly the plant-based oat milk and almond milk varieties, bring in ingredients like sunflower lecithin, gellan gum, locust bean gum, and natural flavors. The term natural flavor is itself a regulatory category that can include a wide range of chemical compounds derived from natural sources, but processed in ways most consumers wouldn't picture when they hear the word natural. A single natural flavor formulation can contain dozens of individual chemical components, including solvents and preservatives used in the flavor manufacturing process, which do not have to be individually listed on the label. The bigger issue is price. Natural Bliss typically costs significantly more per ounce than Coffee Mate. At many retailers, you're paying a 30 to 50% premium. For the original sweet cream version, you are getting a genuinely better ingredient list. But for some of the flavored and plant-based extensions, you're paying a premium price for a product that still relies on gums, stabilizers, and vague flavor formulations. The Natural Bliss name creates a halo that covers the entire product line, but the ingredient quality varies dramatically from one flavor to the next. Check the specific bottle. The name doesn't guarantee what's inside. Number 4, Chobani Sweet Cream Creamer. Chobani built its brand on Greek yogurt, thick, protein-rich, simple ingredients. When Chobani launched its coffee creamer line, many consumers assumed they were getting the same philosophy in a creamer bottle. The branding reinforces that. Clean design. The word natural used frequently in marketing. A reputation earned in a completely different product category being transferred to a new one. The Chobani Sweet Cream Creamer ingredient list reads, non-fat milk, heavy cream, cane sugar, natural flavors. That's a solid list, and it's genuinely better than most mainstream creamers. So why is it on this list? Two reasons. First, some of Chobani's flavored creamers, like vanilla and caramel, add more complexity. You'll see natural flavors doing heavier lifting, and the sugar content climbs. A single serving of some flavored varieties contains around 5 grams of added sugar, putting it in the same territory as International Delight, despite the dramatically different brand positioning. Second, and this is the more important point, Chobani Creamer benefits from what marketing professionals call a halo transfer. The trust you built with Chobani yogurt, a product where the brand genuinely earned its reputation, gets applied uncritically to a product in a completely different category. Yogurt and coffee creamer have almost nothing in common nutritionally. A Chobani Greek yogurt might give you 12 to 15 grams of protein per serving. A Chobani creamer gives you 0. You're paying a premium price driven partly by brand equity earned in a different aisle. Chobani creamer is not bad, but it's not as special as the brand name makes it feel. And at its price point, you should know exactly what you're paying for. Number 5. Starbucks Creamers by Nestlé. Here's one that surprises people. The Starbucks branded creamers you see in the grocery store are not made by Starbucks. They're made by Nestlé. In 2018, Nestlé paid over $7 billion for the rights to market and sell Starbucks-branded consumer packaged goods, including creamers, outside of Starbucks stores. This is a licensing deal. The product is manufactured and formulated by Nestlé. That matters because when you pick up a bottle of Starbucks Caramel Macchiato Creamer, you may be thinking about the experience of walking into a Starbucks cafe, the baristas, the espresso machines, the carefully crafted drinks. But what you're actually holding is a Nestlé product with an ingredient list that often looks remarkably similar to other Nestlé creamers. Take the Starbucks caramel-flavored creamer. Ingredients: non-fat milk, sugar, heavy cream, natural and artificial flavors, mono and diglycerides, sodium caseinate, carrageenan. Compare that to Coffee Mate's Natural Bliss Vanilla, and the structure is strikingly similar. In some cases, the Starbucks version actually contains artificial flavors, where Natural Bliss does not. You're paying a Starbucks premium for a Nestlé product. The green siren on the bottle is doing more work than any ingredient inside it. And here's the kicker. Some Starbucks creamer flavors contain both natural and artificial flavors. The front of the bottle doesn't always make that obvious. You have to check the ingredient list. A consumer who specifically chose Starbucks over Coffee Mate because they assumed it was a step up might be getting a lateral move, or in some formulations, a step sideways. The Starbucks name creates an expectation of cafe quality. The ingredient list delivers grocery aisle standard. Number 6. Silk Almond Creamer, Vanilla. Silk is one of the most recognized plant-based brands in America. It's owned by Danone, the same company that owns International Delight. The Silk brand carries a health-forward image, plant-based, dairy-free, often marketed alongside messaging about sustainability and wellness. The Silk Vanilla Almond Creamer ingredient list includes water, cane sugar, almond milk, filtered water, almonds, coconut cream, contains 2% or less of pea protein, sunflower lecithin, locust bean gum, gellan gum, natural flavor, potassium citrate, calcium carbonate. Let's unpack that. The product is mostly water and sugar. The almond component is itself mostly filtered water with a small amount of almonds. Then coconut cream adds fat and body. The gums and emulsifiers hold the mixture together. Natural flavor provides the vanilla taste. The actual almond content in most almond-based products is surprisingly low. While Silk doesn't disclose the exact percentage, almond milks and almond-based products have been the subject of class action lawsuits over this very issue. In 2015, a lawsuit alleged that certain almond milk brands contained only about 2% almonds. The case brought attention to the gap between the prominent almond imagery on packaging and the minimal almond content inside. For the consumer who switched from dairy creamer to Silk Almond Creamer, thinking they were choosing something simpler or more wholesome, the ingredient list tells a more complicated story. You're getting a manufactured emulsion of water, sugar, traces of almonds, coconut fat, and a collection of stabilizers and gums. It's not unhealthy in any dramatic way, but it's also not the clean, simple, plant-powered product that the branding implies, and the sugar content is still there. About 3 to 4 grams per tablespoon in the vanilla version. Multiply by your actual pour, and you're back in the same sugar territory as the conventional creamers you were trying to avoid. Number 7. Great Value French Vanilla Creamer, Walmart Store Brand. Great Value is Walmart's house brand, and it is one of the most purchased creamer brands in the country simply because of Walmart's enormous market share. Millions of Americans buy this creamer every week because it's cheap and it's right there. The ingredient list for Great Value French Vanilla Creamer reads like a greatest hits of everything we've been talking about. Water, sugar, palm oil, contains 2% or less of sodium caseinate, dipotassium phosphate, mono and diglycerides, natural and artificial flavors, polysorbate 60, carrageenan, beta-carotene for color. Let's focus on a few of those. Polysorbate 60 is an emulsifier that has been the subject of some animal research suggesting potential effects on gut microbiome composition. A 2015 study published in Nature found that certain synthetic emulsifiers, including polysorbate 80, a close relative, could promote intestinal inflammation and metabolic changes in mice. That doesn't mean polysorbate 60 will harm you in a tablespoon of creamer, but it's worth knowing that your budget creamer contains synthetic emulsifiers that are still being studied. Palm oil is the fat base here. It's cheap, shelf-stable, and functional. It's also at the center of significant environmental concerns related to deforestation, habitat destruction, and labor practices in Southeast Asia. Great Value does not typically carry RSPO certification for sustainable palm oil sourcing on its creamer products. The real issue with Great Value creamer isn't that it's dramatically worse than Coffee Mate or International Delight. It's that it's essentially the same product at a lower price, which actually reveals something about the premium brands. If the budget store brand and the name brand have nearly identical ingredient lists, what exactly is the name brand charging extra for? The answer is the label, the font, the brand story, not the formula. Great Value creamer is cheap, and it tastes like what it is, sweetened oil and water with vanilla flavoring. There's no pretense of being natural or premium. In a strange way, its honesty about being a budget product makes it less deceptive than some of the brands that charge twice as much for the same basic formula. But that doesn't make it good. It just makes it cheap. Number 8. Laird Superfood Creamer. Now we move into a different price tier entirely. Laird Superfood was founded by big wave surfer Laird Hamilton. The brand is positioned in the wellness and performance space. The packaging is bold. The word superfood is in the name. The marketing emphasizes clean ingredients, functional nutrition, and a lifestyle associated with elite athleticism. The Laird Superfood Original Creamer is a powdered product. Its ingredients include coconut milk powder, organic coconut sugar, organic extra virgin coconut oil, aquamin, which is a mineral-rich seaweed extract. That's a short list, and compared to Coffee Mate powder, it's genuinely a different product. So what's the concern? Price and expectation. A 16-ounce bag of Laird Superfood Creamer can cost between $12 and $15 at retail. Coffee Mate powder costs a fraction of that. For the premium, you're getting coconut-based ingredients and a mineral supplement. But you're also getting a product that still adds sugar to your coffee, just in the form of coconut sugar instead of corn syrup solids. Coconut sugar contains roughly the same amount of calories and carbohydrates as regular sugar. It has a slightly lower glycemic index, and it contains trace minerals, but the metabolic difference in the amounts used in a creamer serving is minimal. The word superfood has no FDA-regulated definition. Any company can call any product a superfood. There is no standard, no certification, no testing requirement. It's a marketing term, not a nutritional classification. Laird Superfood Creamer is a better formulated product than most conventional creamers. That's true, but it's priced as if it's in a completely different category, and the superfood branding creates expectations that a coconut-based creamer with coconut sugar may not fully deliver on. You're paying for the lifestyle brand as much as the ingredient list. If you want coconut-based creamer, you can make one at home with canned coconut cream for a fraction of the cost. The product isn't bad. The price-to-value ratio, given what's actually inside, is the issue. Number 9. Coffee Mate Natural Bliss Plant-Based Oat Milk Flavor. We're ending with another Nestlé product, and there's a reason. This one represents the newest frontier of creamer marketing, the plant-based, oat milk, clean label crossover. It combines every trend in the grocery industry into one bottle. Plant-based, oat milk, natural, bliss. The packaging is calm, almost therapeutic. It feels like it belongs in a Whole Foods, not next to the original Coffee Mate. But look at the ingredients. Oat milk, water, oats, coconut oil, cane sugar, contains 2% or less of pea protein, dipotassium phosphate, sunflower lecithin, gel and gum, natural flavor. This product is primarily water and oats blended into a liquid, combined with coconut oil for richness, sugar for sweetness, and a handful of stabilizers and emulsifiers to keep it from separating. It is not dramatically different from the Silk Almond Creamer we discussed earlier. The base changes from almond to oat. The oil changes from implicit to explicit. The gums and stabilizers remain. The issue is the compounding effect of the Natural Bliss brand name, the plant-based positioning, and the oat milk trend all working together to create an impression of purity and simplicity that the ingredient list doesn't fully support. Oat milk itself has been criticized by some nutritionists for its relatively high carbohydrate content compared to other plant milks. And when you add cane sugar on top of the natural sugars in oats, the total sugar impact per serving climbs. This product isn't harmful, but it represents the most sophisticated version of the labeling game we've been tracking throughout this entire video. Every word on the front of this bottle is doing marketing work. Natural, bliss, plant-based, oat milk. None of those words are regulated in this context in a way that guarantees what the consumer imagines. And that brings us to the core message. The bigger picture. Every creamer on this list exists because of the same basic formula. Take water. Add a cheap fat, whether that's vegetable oil, palm oil, or coconut oil. Add sugar in some form. Add emulsifiers to keep it from separating. Add flavoring to make it taste like something. Put it in a bottle with the right words and the right colors. Sell it next to the milk. The difference between a 60-cent serving of Coffee Mate and a $1.50 serving of Laird Superfood is real, but it's smaller than the branding suggests. The difference between a natural creamer and a conventional one is sometimes just 1 or 2 ingredients. The difference between a plant-based creamer and a dairy-based creamer in terms of what's actually doing the work in your cup is often just which fat and which gum they chose. The entire category rewards marketing more than formulation, and that's what you should carry with you into the aisle. What to buy instead? If you want creamer in your coffee, here are options that genuinely deliver what the label promises. Half and half. Plain, simple, half and half. The ingredient list on most store brand half and half is milk, cream. That's it. 2 ingredients. No sugar, no oil, no emulsifiers, no natural flavors. It gives your coffee richness and body because it contains actual dairy fat. A tablespoon has about 20 calories and less than 1 gram of sugar, which is naturally occurring lactose, not added sweetener. It costs less per ounce than most flavored creamers. If you want vanilla flavor, add a drop of real vanilla extract. Heavy cream, even richer. 1 ingredient, cream. Higher in calories per tablespoon, but most people use less because it's so rich. No additives, no sugar, no oil. Califia Farms Better Half. For a plant-based option, Califia Farms Better Half, which combines almond milk and coconut cream, has a relatively clean ingredient list with no carrageenan, no artificial flavors, and lower sugar than many competitors. It's not perfect. It still contains locust bean gum and gel and gum. But it's a step closer to what plant-based creamer marketing promises. Maple Hill Organic Cream. Grass-fed organic heavy cream from a brand that's transparent about sourcing. More expensive, but if you're going to pay a premium, this is a product where the premium reflects actual ingredient and sourcing quality, not just label design. Make your own. This sounds old-fashioned, but it takes 30 seconds. Warm some whole milk or coconut cream, Add a splash of real vanilla extract or a pinch of cinnamon. Stir. You now have a creamer with ingredients you can name, no stabilizers, no mystery flavors, and no markup. The best creamer is the one with the fewest ingredients doing the most honest work. Your label checklist. 10 seconds in the aisle. Next time you pick up a creamer, flip it around and check these things. 1. What is the first ingredient? If it's water, you're buying diluted product. If it's milk or cream, you're closer to real dairy. 2. Is there oil in the ingredient list? Vegetable oil, palm kernel oil, soybean oil, or hydrogenated oil means fat is coming from a cheap plant source, not from cream. 3. How many grams of added sugar per serving? And then check the serving size. If the serving is 1 tablespoon, multiply the sugar by however many tablespoons you actually use. Be honest with yourself. 4. Do you see the phrase natural flavors? That's not necessarily dangerous, but it means the flavor isn't coming from real vanilla beans or real hazelnut. It's coming from a manufactured flavor compound. Decide if that matters to you. 5. Count the ingredients. If there are more than 5 or 6, ask yourself what all those extra ingredients are doing. Usually they're holding together a mixture that wouldn't exist in nature. 6. Compare the price per ounce to plain half and half. You might be shocked at how much more you're paying for a product with cheaper base ingredients. 7. Ignore the front of the bottle. The words natural, simple, real cream, clean, and plant-based are marketing language in this category, not regulated guarantees. The only thing that tells you what's inside is the ingredient list on the back. Final thought. You pour creamer into your coffee almost without thinking. It's one of those tiny daily rituals that feels too small to matter. But small choices repeated every single day for years add up. The sugar adds up, the oil adds up, the cost adds up, and the trust you place in a label, without checking what's behind it, adds up too. You don't have to give up creamer. You just have to know what you're actually buying. Check the bottle that's in your fridge right now. Read the ingredient list. If you're surprised by what you find, drop it in the comments. And if someone in your life pours creamer into their coffee every morning without ever flipping the bottle around, send them this video. They'll thank you. If you want to keep going, we've done investigations on grocery store bread, cooking oils, and breakfast cereals that follow the exact same pattern. Trusted labels hiding ingredient lists that tell a very different story. Those are linked on screen. I'll see you in the next one.